It's time for Northwestern Outdoors Radio, the award-winning broadcast covering fishing, hunting, and outdoor recreation throughout the Great Northwest. Northwestern Outdoors is brought to you every week by Max Lure Company, producing a legacy of innovation since 1969, by Sportsman's Warehouse, America's premier outfitter, and by Loophole, America's optical authority. Also sponsoring the show every week is Shiloh Inn & Suites, offering affordable excellence throughout the West. Mardon Resort, the place to fish and hunt in eastern Washington, and the Wallowa County Chamber of Commerce, where nature is on display in Northeast Oregon all year long. And now, let's head into the field with your host, John Cruz.
Earlier this summer, we broadcast a show from the Theodore Roosevelt Conservation Partnership's Western Media Summit in Bozeman, Montana. We learned a lot about the importance of conserving and protecting our public lands and keeping them open for outdoor enthusiasts such as anglers and hunters to use. One of the speakers at the summit was the governor of Montana, Steve Bullock. Turns out he has a lot to say on the subject of public lands and whether or not they should be managed by the states or the federal government. I'll give you a hint. He doesn't want to do it. He also weighs in on the importance of public lands and the pursuits of hunting and fishing to the state of Montana. While we were in Bozeman, we visited two very well-known companies that demonstrated this economic impact. One of them is Simms. If you're a fly angler, you're well aware they make some of the best, if not the best, waders out there. Turns out they make a whole lot more than that as well, designed to keep anglers on the water comfortable so they can spend more time casting and not worrying about being cold or wet. Diane Bristol with Simms Fishing Products is going to tell you more about it as we take a tour of this wonderful facility. Another Bozeman company who feels the same way about quality gear is Sitka. They manufacture hunting gear. It's high-end stuff, and it's all the rage with hunters who are serious about their sport. David Brinker, marketing director for Sitka Gear, will tell you more about what they have to offer, the science of concealment, and their philosophy of turning clothing into gear. In addition to all of this here in Bozeman, we're heading to the Columbia River Gorge for an extended Max Minute, where guide Bruce Warren makes a return appearance to help you learn about hover fishing, a great technique to catch coho salmon at this time of year. We've also got outdoors news that puts a Northwest tribe in a very bad light when it comes to conservation, or in this case, a lack thereof. Finally, you'll want to stick around until the end of our broadcast to find out about upcoming events taking place near you and to give us your best guess regarding our Sportsman's Warehouse Trivia Question of the Week, where we give you a chance to win a $25 gift card from Sportsman's Warehouse. But before we get any further into this show, David Sparks has a new edition of Sportsman Spotlight for you, focusing on this year's wildfires and your hunting season. What does it mean? David is going to let you know. Sportsman Spotlight is brought to you by Nate Luther's Guide Service. Nate wants to take you salmon and steelhead fishing on the Snake River this fall, and I'll tell you what, the bite is getting hot right now, so give him a call. You can find out more about how to contact him on his website at nateluthersguidedfishing.com.
The impact of wildfires on your hunt. David Sparks, Sportsman Spotlight. Since so many wildfires are burning across the entire span between Colorado and the Northwest coast, I thought I would read this advisory from the Washington Department of Fish and Wildlife because it really applies to every hunting area. As of this writing, wildfires continue to threaten federal, tribal, state, and private lands, as well as many communities. We're all concerned for public safety and the loss of life and property, as well as the impact to our natural resources. As a hunter, you may also be concerned about the status of upcoming hunting seasons. WDFW has no plans to close or delay any general hunting seasons due to fire activity. Hunters should, however, be aware of widespread land access restrictions currently in place throughout the state due to wildfires. Now more than ever, it's important to check the fire and land access situation before setting out on your trip. Updated information on active wildfires, including local travel and access restrictions, are available on selected websites. Please bear in mind that landowners determine who has access to their land. Some landowners, including multiple private timberland owners, have closed their lands to access in response to current wildfire activity. At this time, it's too early to know whether landowners will keep their lands closed or reopen lands during the hunting season. Conditions can change rapidly over the next few weeks, so hunters should check periodically for access changes. Again, that's a press release from the state of Washington, but the logic pretty much applies to all hunting areas between Colorado and the entire Northwest. Good luck and be careful.
Have you fished with Nate Luther before? He's the guide who's always catching fish out of his big boat painted in Seattle Seahawks blue and green. Nate grew up around Lewiston, Idaho. He has been fishing the Snake River and the Clearwater for as long as he can remember, and he wants to take you out on a trip where you can catch Chinook salmon to 25 pounds or steelhead up to 20 pounds. Here's how you do it. Go to his website, NateLuthersGuideservice.com. That's NateLuthersGuideservice.com, or give him a call at 208-503-9204. That's 208-503-9204 for an awesome Chinook salmon and steelhead catching adventure.
Leupold Gold Ring Optics are built to perform at the highest level, shot after shot, year after year. Our rifle scopes, binoculars, spotting scopes, rangefinders, and more always come through when you need them most. That's why our American-built products have a lifetime guarantee. Or as we like to say here at Leupold, they are guaranteed for a lifetime of performance, not a lifetime of replacement. Find out more about our top quality gear and our lifetime guarantee at Leupold.com. Leupold, America's optics authority.
Pheasants Forever is working hard every day to ensure there's more wildlife habitat for the future. Join the habitat leader and help create wildlife habitat in your community. Go to pheasantsforever.org.
You're back with Northwestern Outdoors Radio. I'm John Cruz. Earlier this summer, we attended the Theodore Roosevelt Conservation Partnership's Western Media Summit in Bozeman, Montana. Our keynote speaker the first night was none other than the governor of Montana, Steve Bullock. He covered a lot of ground relating to public lands and public access, and one thing he talked about was his take on a move by lobbyists to transfer control of public lands from the federal government to state governments. Here's what Governor Bullock had to say about that.
In our state capital, largely out of state interests are hiring expensive lobbyists to influence lawmakers, to really convince them to carry their legislation to say that, well, there may be problems with federal land management at times, so the answer is just to put all those federal lands, let's take them back and put them into state hands. To date, you certainly haven't fooled me, and you haven't fooled Montanans. We know that the idea of taking all federal lands and having the state manage them, the sheer cost would be too great for the state of Montana or any other state to shoulder. We'd be left with ultimately that choice of dramatically increasing taxes and fees on Montanans or selling off much of these lands to the highest bidders, folks who would undoubtedly be putting up the locks and no trespassing signs, ensuring that these lands were lost forever. Fortunately, our legislators weren't fooled either, quickly killed, well, maybe not quickly, killed the most dangerous of that legislation, and the one bill that made it to my desk, it quickly meant to put my veto down. This isn't about better federal land management. This is about, ultimately, we'd be selling off these lands. We wouldn't have been that successful were it not for the work of literally hundreds of sportsmen, including this organization, which played an important role in the overall building of a public lands rally in the state capitol, where we had people on all three floors, and they're dressed in orange, they're dressed in camo, they're Democrats, they're Republicans, they're dang near everybody saying, at the end of the day, these lands are too important to our state to even be playing games. Telling lawmakers that we needed to abandon those proposals and send the dark money organizations that were supporting it packing.
What's Governor Bullock's take on public access to these public lands? Well, if you're a sportsman, you're going to be happy to hear what he has to say about that.
At the state level, we're not without our threats to the future of our public lands, water, and wildlife as well. And Montana is truly, I think, fortunate because we have some of the best public access laws, especially when it comes to stream access in the nation. Before I became governor, I was attorney general. Before I was attorney general, I was a baby lawyer in the attorney general's office at one point, and had the opportunity to write an attorney general's opinion that made pretty much sense. If you have a bridge crossing a river, Well, that's actually 2 points of public access. Had the opportunity to stand up and defend our stream access laws time and time again. That is, Attorney General actually prosecute or bring a number of cases to say that nobody has the right to block public access off of public roads. But from those stream access rules to our state's commitment to preserving public land and wildlife, not selling them off to the highest bidder, there's so much to be happy about as being a Montana resident and deep government. So I see what's occurring in states like New Mexico, where stream access rights and traditions are ultimately being overruled by legislative action. That, again, makes me blessed to be in Montana.
You're listening to Northwestern Outdoors Radio. I'm John Cruz. You're listening to excerpts from a speech given by Montana Governor Steve Bullock this summer during the Theodore Roosevelt Conservation Partnership's Western Media Summit in Bozeman, Montana. He's talked about public lands, and now Governor Bullock is going to talk about the economic impact of public lands and public recreation to the state of Montana.
Now, the public lands represent, now as I go a little bit forward, have a 13, 11 as of Wednesday, and an 8-year-old son. And they represent not only just this incredible opportunity to have a connection with families and for those lands to become part of kind of their DNA, but it also really presents incredible economic opportunities for our state. We didn't mention some of the incredible companies that you'll be seeing here. But it's so wonderful to have them there, and it's part of also the Montana ethos. But it's that much more in so many other respects. Like fishing in 2014, and recognize we have 1 million residents in Montana. In angling license or fishing license alone last year, 239,000 in-state licenses. Another 154,000 non-resident. Anglers spend about $907 million in our state. If we go to the hunting side, last year 192,000 resident hunting licenses, 43,000 non-resident, spending $348 million. This is a big sector of our economy. And it's part of, in a state of 1 million, we have 11 million visitors. Many of those visitors, the first time that they come here, what makes them want to come back might be that Montana moment of fishing or hunting and hiking. In Montana, those 11 million visitors, about $6 billion in consumer spending, 34,000 jobs, $403 million in state and local tax revenues to help fund our schools, our roads, and everything else.
Finally, Governor Bullock talks about what public lands and public access in Montana means to his family.
I was in Helena last Sunday, and my wife Lisa and I, we loaded our kids up, and there's a new fishing access site literally within 7 miles from my door. It's Prickly Pear Creek. So we loaded up a picnic. I hadn't been out there. I don't think they're going to have the grand ribbon cutting for another week or two, even though it's all signed and people are using them right now. But my kids were so happy to be there. I mean, they were swimming in the creek and they were playing and splashing. It was, a 90-degree day. They didn't have any sense of what it took for that to happen. I mean, it took our local land trust. And we have incredible land trusts all throughout this state. But it took our Prickly Pear Land Trust to take a risk on this. It took a private landowner to say that ultimately this land is so close to Helena. It also has a private residence within spitting distance of the parking lot, that this would be better in public hands. It took my Fish, Wildlife, and Parks Division using federal dollars and others to figure out the money to do this. The kids having that great evening on a Sunday that, we'll always remember, didn't have any sense of how much it took to get this done. And the beauty is at 13, almost 11, they shouldn't have to. They should just be able to recognize that within where they could literally almost drive their ride their bikes from where they live, that they can enjoy some of the things that people in other areas would just dream of. So really as governor, but more importantly, as a father of those 3 young Montanans, it is my honor and my obligation to get to play a part in our state and our nation's public land and wildlife legacy.
That's Montana Governor Steve Bullock speaking about the importance of public lands and public access.
Welcome to Shiloh Inn's 4-star accommodations at 2-star affordable prices. I'm Mark Hemstreet, owner of Shiloh Inns. I personally invite you to enjoy Shiloh Inn's deluxe smoke-free suites, then relax and enjoy our spacious pools and spas with steam and sauna rooms and fully equipped fitness centers. And Shiloh's 4-star treatment is even more affordable with more free amenities than most other hotel chains, like free high-speed internet to a free continental delicious breakfast or full hot breakfast at most Shiloh Inns. And smoke-free Shiloh Inns are all dog-friendly. That's what we mean by 4-star accommodations at 2-star affordable prices. For reservations, call 1-800-222-2244 or visit our website at shilohinns.com. Shiloh Inns, affordable excellence.
We're back with John Cruz on Northwestern Outdoors Radio.
It's time for another Max Minute.
Fish on!
Brought to you every week by Max Lure Company. With us this week is Max Pro Guide Bruce Warren. Bruce, we're at Fish Camp. We've been fishing the Columbia River, and I understand you've been using smile blades while hover fishing to get fish in the boat.
You bet. Smile blades will add an extra flash to your bait. They'll add a little extra color to your bait, and you can change them up real quick, real easy to maybe get something that'll get those fish to going.
Let's go ahead and talk about hover fishing. Exactly how does that work? Go ahead and describe the setup and the technique.
Well, first of all, you need a fairly good rod, not too long, about 8 feet, with a fairly light tip and a little bit of backbone to it. 10 to 20 pound test works great. Put on that a chunk of 2-ounce lead. Cannonballs are my favorite because they don't hang up too bad. And you only need about 2, maybe 3 feet a leader. Again, about 20 pound test. Tie on between a 1-aught and probably a 3-aught hook, your favorite beta eggs, and of course don't forget that Max Smile blade on there. Drop it down to the bottom, reel up 2 to 3 cranks, and watch that rod tip. That's the key.
Now, in hover fishing, you're not jigging, you're not moving it, you're just waiting for that fish to bite, and it's a really light bite, isn't it?
Yes, it is. It's very light bite. That's why you need a rod with a sensitive tip. You'll see that rod dip a little bit, maybe bump a little bit, but boy, not very much.
And the other key when it comes to hover fishing is I've always been trained, especially with the Chinook salmon. Wait for it, wait for it, wait for it, let them eat it. But that's not the case with hover fishing, is it?
No, it's not. You see that rod dip just a little bit, set it. Set it hard. You never know. It might be a sturgeon, but hopefully, and most of the time, it's a nice big Chinook.
Well, there you go, folks. Hover fishing demystified, and don't forget that Smile Blade. It's a patented product from Max Lure Company. That's going to wrap up this Max Minute, but before we go, let's give people your website and a phone number so they can maybe book a trip with you.
You bet. My name is Bruce Warren at fishingforfunguideservice.com, and my phone number is 253-208-7433, and you can reach us on the web, too.
That's fishingforfunguideservice.com. Go ahead and book a trip with Bruce Warren. Great guy to spend a day with on a boat and to catch fish with, too. And that wraps up this week's Max Minute from Max Lure Company.
Want to put a smile on your face? Start off by putting a smile blade from Max Lure Company on your line. Max Smile Blades come in different sizes and spin at slow speeds, not like those metal blades on other lures. Buy them separately or on ready-made rigs like the wedding ring spinner, double whammy, walleye pop, and more. Smile blades work for trout, bass, walleye, as well as other species, and when that fish hits, you'll have a grin on your face that won't go away. The Smile Blade, only from Max Lure Company.
Have you fished with Nate Luther before? He's the guide who's always catching fish out of his big boat painted in Seattle Seahawks blue and green. Nate grew up around Lewiston, Idaho. He has been fishing the Snake River and the Clearwater for as long as he can remember, and he wants to take you out on a trip where you can catch Chinook salmon to 25 pounds or steelhead up to 20 pounds. Here's how you do it. Go to his website, NateLuthersGuideservice.com. That's NateLuthersGuideservice.com, or give him a call at 208-503-9204. That's 208-503-9204 for an awesome Chinook salmon and steelhead catching adventure. Welcome back to Northwestern Outdoors Radio. We're broadcasting from, the outskirts of Bozeman, Montana. We're actually at the Simms Fishing Products facility. Just went on a tour. Fantastic stuff. And I'll tell you what, if you're a fly angler and you walk into a fly shop, you already know that the top shelf products there when it comes to waders, they come from Simms. And with us here to tell us more about it is Diane Bristol. Diane, thanks for a great tour and welcome to the show.
Thanks so much. Really appreciate you having me on the show today.
Diane, I got a great education about your product line today, but why don't you tell our listeners more about Simms Fishing Products and what you offer?
John, really Simms is more than fishing waders, so thank you for giving me an opportunity to talk about that. But really it's protective gear and what can help you be on the water longer and comfortably. So our purpose here at Simms and what gets us up in the morning is to have your best day on the water. And we don't want you to think about our gear at all. We've done our job if you have a great day.
I'll be honest, I was that guy that I always thought about Simms, and it was always just basically chest waders. But you make more than that, don't you?
We sure do. We have a broad product line from wading footwear to casual footwear, including flip-flops that you can wear on a boat, to rain jackets, to sportswear. Really, it's about protective gear. So in our sportswear, our UPF range is from 30 to 50. We want to make sure that you're protected from the sun. So it's very broad, and it really is what you need on the water to keep you comfortable.
You know, you're the only wader manufacturer who produces waders in the United States. And matter of fact, you brought 150 jobs here to the Bozeman area, haven't you?
John, we sure have. It's critical for us to keep our manufacturing of Gore-Tex waders in the U.S. It's a very technical product. It also allows us to do more styles and sizes than any other wader manufacturer. But more importantly, you can be a new angler or an experienced angler, and you know pretty quickly if your waders are leaking.
This is true. Been there, done that, and you're absolutely right about that. Something else I want to talk about here, as you were giving us the tour, it became very apparent, like I hinted at earlier, it's not just fly anglers that use your gear. You've actually got quite a few bass pros that are just falling in love with your rain gear and protective gear.
You're right, and that was a focus for us. About 4 years ago, we decided to enter into the broader fishing market, so we teamed up with some of the best bass tournament anglers, including Casey Ashley that just won the Bassmaster Classic this year. But we took the same philosophy that we did in fly, in that if you identify with the pros and find out what their needs are, if you can make product to suit their needs, you can probably suit all of the casual anglers or even avid anglers, because pros need this stuff to work and perform every day. It's their work clothes. So if we can do that, we can make a product for you.
I liked what one of the bass pros was talking about when it came to Simms, the fact that the jacket that he wears that keeps the elements from getting to him is just as important to him as his rod or his reel or any lure that he has in his tackle box.
John, it's very rewarding when you hear anglers actually recognize what they wear as being as important as what they're using or the boat that they use. And it's great for us that anglers are recognizing that if they have great product that they're wearing, they can stay on the water longer and more comfortably, and that makes their day of fishing that much more successful.
Let's turn our attention to the facility here. It became very apparent during the tour that you gave us that Simms is really, really focused, number one, on quality, and number two, on efficiency.
That's certainly true. We have, in this facility that we're in now, we moved here about 3 years ago, we were able to really make our manufacturing process very refined and very efficient. And it's important for us to make sure that we don't give up quality when we're focused on efficiency. So those two things go hand in hand, but we also made a facility that reminds our folks every day that our brand is a premium product and what we make is really important.
You also stand behind your product, too. I understand you have a 30-day, no questions asked return policy.
For waders, it's an over-the-counter 30-day exchange policy, and really, because we understand we're at the high end of the wader market, we want to make sure that you feel confident in what you're buying, and at the end of the day, that's the most important thing for us.
So you have this beautiful 3-year new facility here on the outskirts of Bozeman. Are you open to the public?
We actually invite the public in because we're the only waiter manufacturer in the United States. We really want you to see what goes into waiter manufacture. And so our facility is set up that if somebody from the public comes in, we can give them a very thorough tour just from standing at the glass that shows our manufacturing facility.
And folks, it's great. Literally, you walk in through the front doors, it's open glass, you can see everybody at work, and if you ordered a pair of these waders, they might very well be working on your pair of waders. It is awesome. But you don't sell from here in the facility, but right next door, there's a place that sells your entire product line.
That's exactly right. When we moved out here 3 years ago, one of our authorized dealers that was over by us at our old location was very interested in opening a second location. So the River's Edge West is right across the street from us. They carry every product we offer. They're the only retailer in the United States that carries our full product line. So you are able to walk right across the street and get an incredible attention to service and detail, and these folks know Simms products.
So for folks who can't make it to Bozeman to visit the River's Edge or to visit your facility, and perhaps their local fly shop doesn't carry what they want from Simms Fishing Products, can they go online and order it that way?
Sure can. At simmsfishing.com, you can find a dealer locator, at least to go see if there's a retailer close to you. And then we also have affiliate retailers that carry a broad grouping of our products that might be able to serve you. And then we offer direct sales as well.
But it's important to note the direct sales is a little pricier than what you're going to find at the retailers. And that's only fair, folks. Just to let you know, that's the way it ought to be when you're buying from a manufacturer. You're going to pay a little bit more because they don't want to undercut the retailers and dealers they work with.
You will pay the full retail price for inline products, and you will pay shipping and appropriate tax because we want to support our retailers. They're critical to our success, critical to our industry. So I got to say, support your local retailer, and if that doesn't work, feel free to come to simmsfishing.com.
Very well said. Again, that's simmsfishing.com, or come visit them here near Bozeman. What's the exact address so people can just Google it and plan on making a trip?
It's 177 Garden Drive, Bozeman, Montana.
There you go, folks. That's Simms Fishing Products. They are at the top of their game. Come on out, see what they have to offer, and pick up some gear at the River's Edge next door. Diane, thanks so much for telling us all about this on Northwestern Outdoors Radio.
John, thank you for having me, and it was great to have you in Bozeman.
The road is calling you to experience one of Oregon's 7 wonders, the Wallowas. So grab your camping equipment and fishing gear and head out to Northeast Oregon, where you'll find the views are endless, the air crisp and clean, and the water's cold and clear. Set up camp by the shores of Wallowa Lake or in the heart of the Wallowa-Whitman National Forest. Take your fishing gear and cast your bait into the deep waters of Wallowa Lake, or roll your fly into one of the eddies of the many freestone creeks and rivers teeming with fish. This summer, take the road that leads to wonders. It begins at WallowaCountyChamber.com.
It doesn't matter what sort of adventure you're after. Whether it's big game deep in the backcountry, a day of fishing out on the water, or an overnight in the great outdoors. At Sportsman's Warehouse, we've got the gear in here for what you need out there. Gear up for your next adventure at one of the Sportsman's Warehouse stores or shop online. Sportsman's Warehouse, America's premier outfitter.
Have you fished with Nate Luther before? He's the guide who's always catching fish out of his big boat painted in Seattle Seahawks blue and green. Nate grew up around Lewiston, Idaho. He has been fishing the Snake River and the Clearwater for as long as he can remember, and he wants to take you out on a trip where you can catch Chinook salmon to 25 pounds or steelhead up to 20 pounds. Here's how you do it. Go to his website, NateLuthersGuideservice.com. That's NateLuthersGuideservice.com, or give him a call at 208-503-9204. That's 208-503-9204 for an awesome Chinook salmon and steelhead catching adventure.
More habitat equals more wildlife. Pheasants Forever is working hard every day to ensure there's more wildlife habitat for the future. Join the habitat leader and help create wildlife habitat in your community. To join us, go to pheasantsforever.com. fedensforever.org.
Welcome back to Northwestern Outdoors Radio. I'm John Cruz. It's time again for news and reports from the field, brought to you every week by Mardon Resort at Eastern Washington's Potholes Reservoir. If you're looking for something to do this weekend, the annual dock tournament's taking place at the resort. There's going to be over 100 anglers that are fishing there. It's a marathon tournament. You can fish as much or as little as you want. They're giving out cash prizes for the biggest fish in 9 different species you can catch off the dock. Everything from trout and bass to carp and catfish and walleye. It's always a lot of fun, and you wind up Sunday at noon with a pie social right at the resort. Find out more about it at mardonresort.com. That's mardonresort.com, where the fish bite, but we don't. Let's go ahead and give you some outdoors news. It is not a good summer for the Tulalip tribe in Northwest Washington, which is developing a bad reputation in a hurry when it comes to fish and wildlife conservation. How bad of a reputation? How about this? The director of Fish and Wildlife for the tribe was busted this summer by the Washington Department of Fish and Wildlife for being a big fish in a major shellfish poaching ring. According to Cairo News out of Seattle, Joseph Hatch Sr. and his son Joseph Jr. were arrested this summer and booked into the Snohomish County Jail on suspicion of felony shellfish trafficking. Hatch Sr. also was booked on suspicion of theft after a months-long joint state and tribal investigation. Deputy Chief Mike Sensi with the Washington Department of Fish and Wildlife said, "We were surprised at the extent of the poaching, and we realized when it involved a tribal member, we reached out to that tribe, and we started a very successful investigation in collaboration with the Tulalip tribe. This would be the Tulalip Tribal Police. The Hatches are believed to have harvested crab and shrimp, violating both state and tribal laws because they allegedly fished during closed seasons and after dark. Investigators say the father and son then sold the product for around $6 a pound, less than a third of retail cost. Enforcement officers seized a pickup truck from the Hatch family, and both of the Hatches are currently awaiting trial. It gets worse. Another Tulalip tribal member was killing birds that the tribe itself holds sacred. In a report from the Seattle PI and Como News, we learned Shane Moses, a Tulalip tribal member from Marysville, was sentenced to 111 days in jail this month after pleading guilty to breaking the skulls of 2 injured bald eagles in December of 2013. Moses was crabbing on Puget Sound when he came upon the injured female eagles. Hoping to make some money selling the birds to a taxidermist, Moses beat them both with a gaff. One died immediately, the other was later euthanized. He was turned into police after landing his boat, and the 45-year-old man initially denied clubbing the birds, but later pleaded guilty to the crime. It's a sad state of affairs. One would intuitively think the tribes, which sustain themselves in part through the legal harvest of fish and wildlife as brokered by treaties and court rulings, would be a champion of conserving this resource. And truth be told, quite a few tribes do the right things when it comes to fish and wildlife conservation. The Nez Perce, Umatilla, and Colville Confederated tribes immediately come to mind when it comes to leading the way in conservation. But as you can see, there are some bad apples out there that give everyone else in the Tulalip tribe a very bad name. Next, let's head back to Bozeman and tell you about another outdoors company making an economic impact. We've been talking about the outdoors and economic impact, particularly here in Bozeman, Montana, site of the 13th Annual Western Media Summit hosted by the Theodore Roosevelt Conservation Partnership. Now, we already visited with the folks from Simms Fishing Products, and you heard from them, but there's another company here in town, too. You've probably heard of them. They're making a really big name in the hunting industry. It's Sitka. With us here to tell us more about them is David Brinker, who is their marketing director. David, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me. Appreciate you being here.
David, Sitka hasn't been around a long time compared to some of the legacy brands, but you've made a real splash in the hunting field. You're known for very, very high-quality hunting gear. How did this happen so fast?
Our slogan is turning clothing into gear. We took the concept of bringing technical, end-use-based apparel, really that spawned in the mountaineering and outdoor space, into hunting in a time, this 9 years ago, at a time when clothing was really a secondary thought to most hunters. They would spend $500 to $1,000 on a bow, but then they would, spend $50 on their jacket, even though their jacket was more important. So really the idea was, man, your clothing is really gear, A, and B, it's way more important than people are giving it credit for. So that's the first part. But then the second part is in terms of making a splash, is just telling the story a little bit differently. We've focused a lot more on the actual experience of hunting and the beauty behind it, as opposed to just the outcome that a lot of companies do. And we've created some pretty compelling content around that, and paired together with a remarkable product. We've done well, and we're pretty proud of it.
What are some of your best-selling items for hunters and, well, others who might want to wear your gear?
So, we've been around the big game space the longest, which we consider, west of the Mississippi, the mountains. But we're gaining huge traction east of the Mississippi in the whitetail world and the waterfowl world as well. So, everyone knows the most hunters in the nation are whitetail hunters. There's millions of them. And so I would say that all of our lines are exceptional. We do not come out with anything. We will not launch a product unless we consider it best in class. And I can tell you from firsthand that there's a lot of times where we will literally scrap a concept that we've been working on for multiple years because it's not best in class. So I can say you will be happy with all of our products, but definitely big game is our core. If you travel out to the mountains or you live out in the mountains. But man, our new whitetail and waterfowl lines are changing the industry as well.
So you've got jackets, you've got vests, you've got performance wear, shirts and pants, and something else that's unique about Sitka gear. It has a very unique camouflage pattern. Tell our listeners more about that.
Yeah, so we definitely have a system approach all the way from next to skin to outer layers, which are predominantly as a barrier against the elements. But at the end, and that's the most important part. It's basically a moisture management system. But as an addition to the system, we use it's concealment. We actually don't have a camouflage pattern. Camouflage really is trying to match your surroundings. Our concealment pattern is more to actually act as use the animal's eyes against them. So, for instance, it was actually designed around the way whatever your prey is views the world and how they identify predators. Similar to the way the military looks at their patterns, they're trying to trick the eyes of their enemies. We're trying to trick the eyes of our prey, as opposed to match our surroundings. A deer, for instance, their eyes work very differently than humans. So just because we think it blends in doesn't mean that it blends in, and it doesn't mean that it tricks them. It just means that we think it blends in, which may give us a little bit more confidence, but it may not actually help the outcome. So we just took more of a scientific view of it and said, well, let's actually design something that has factual science behind it that actually can help the outcome, as opposed to us just sitting around a table and putting some sticks and limbs and stuff on some fabric and saying that. I think that kind of matches where I'm going.
This is fascinating stuff. I never looked at the art of camouflage or concealment this way before. So let's talk about something else. You're here in Bozeman. How long has Sitka been here in Bozeman, Montana, and what brought you here?
Sitka was started in Napa, California in 2006. And so we were down there for 6 years. In 2012, we moved to Bozeman, Montana. And really it was about where can we be that's closer to, it's easier to test and use products. The talent retention up here is excellent, and it's just a better place for our brand to be, and that's the bottom line. So in 2011, we made the decision. 2012, we were here, and we couldn't be more proud to be here. I mean, we love it.
Well, there you go, folks. Another company having some economic impact on the state of Montana and the Bozeman area as well. You can find out more about Sitka Gear by going to their website, sitkagear.com. Sitka, spelled S-I-T-K-A, gear.com. David, thanks for giving us this great overview of your company and your product line on Northwestern Outdoors Radio.
Thanks, John.
Need a lightweight camp stove for your next adventure? The new Striker Series stove from Camp Chef is the perfect solution. 2 models of this single-burner stove let you cook using propane or isobutane. The heat ring technology built into the stove's cookware lets you boil water in less than 2 minutes. And like everything else in the Camp Chef line, the Striker Series stove is built tough. If you hike, paddle, hunt, or fish and cook while you do it, you're going to love the Striker Series stove. Find it at your local sporting goods store or at campchef.com. Camp Chef, the way to cook outdoors.
Backcountry Hunters and Anglers, a nationwide group working to keep public lands in public hands so future generations can enjoy what we enjoy. Join the group that makes a difference. Check us out at backcountryhunters.org.
It doesn't matter what sort of adventure you're after, whether it's big game deep in the backcountry, a day of fishing out on the water, or an overnight in the great outdoors. At Sportsman's Warehouse, we've got the gear in here for what you need out there. Gear up for your next adventure at one of the Sportsman's Warehouse stores or shop online. Sportsman's Warehouse, America's premier outfitter.
We're back with one last cast from John Cruz on Northwestern Outdoors Radio.
Let's run through some upcoming events before you go. Next Saturday, the 26th, is National Fishing and Hunting Day across our great nation. A day set aside to celebrate these two passions so many of us love. The day coincides with a great time of year to get out for either pursuit. Find out more about this special day by going to the official website of nhfday.org. The 26th is also National Public Lands Day, a topic we heard about earlier in the show from Montana Governor Steve Bullock. Washington State is celebrating it with free entry into their state parks for the day. Lone Pine State Park in northwest Montana is inviting volunteers to come out and help spruce up the place. Meanwhile, national parks, national wildlife refuges, and national forests are waiving day use fees on this September day, which makes it a great day to explore one of these fine destinations. Meanwhile, at Sportsman's Warehouse stores across the West, the fall hunting sale continues with great deals for rifles, shotguns, trail cams, binoculars, hunting apparel, boots, cook stoves, and more. Look for the insert in your local newspaper, head into your local Sportsman's Warehouse store, or shop online 24/7 at sportsmanswarehouse.com to get your hunting gear on sale today. And now, it's time for your trivia question of the week. There are several species of salmon found in the Northwest, but one of them, as the story goes, is only fit for dog food, hence its nickname of the dog salmon. Despite this fact, some people do eat them and say they're really not that bad, and I've got to admit, they are a really hard-fighting salmon. So, lots of fun to catch, maybe not so much to eat, but the question is this: what is the proper name for this salmon commonly found in the fall in our coastal waters and rivers here in the Northwest? If you think you know the answer, then give it to us on our Facebook page at Northwestern Outdoors Radio. Simply like our page. You'll find a post there. Give us your answer, or go to our website at northwesternoutdoors.com. Go to our contact page, and again, let us know, what's the proper name for the dog salmon? Everyone who answers correctly is entered for a chance to win the $25 gift card we give away every week from Sportsman's Warehouse. While you're on the web, check out RenoViolaOutdoors.com. It's the home of WRVO Radio. It's a great internet station that has outdoors programming every single day of the week. We are one of 33 different outdoors programs on that show. I would invite you to check it out. I think you're going to enjoy it. It's RenoViolaOutdoors.com, the home of WRVO Radio. Finally, a programming note from the Oregon coast, where we are happy to welcome a whole bunch of new listeners tuning in to AM 630 and FM 100.3 KWRO out of Coos Bay. This station has a long history of outdoors programming, and we are proud to be part of it, airing every Sunday morning from 8 to 9 a.m. Those of you who are up the road in Reedsport can also rest easy knowing we didn't go anywhere. We are still airing on KDUN 1030 on Sundays as well at our new airtime of 10 to 11 a.m. Just in case you want to sleep in a little bit Sunday morning. Again, KDUN and KWRO, two great stations that used to be the home of a great show hosted by Richard DeChambeau called Oregon Outdoors. We are humbled and glad to find a home on these stations, and we'll try to fill his shoes. That's all for this week. I trust you've come to realize how much of an impact outdoor enthusiasts, especially hunters and anglers, contribute to our economies. The stories we brought you from Bozeman, Montana, are just the tip of the iceberg in terms of the companies that produce outdoors gear right here in the great Northwest. I hope you'll make it a point to support all of these regional companies and not only sell quality gear, but also employ a good number of people too. And I might add, several of our sponsors fit into that category. Loophole, Beaverton, Oregon; Max Lure Company, Wenatchee, Washington; the Wallowa County Chamber of Commerce in Northeast Oregon; and Mardon Resort in Eastern Washington. The first week of fall is arriving, and it's a great time to fish, hunt, hike, and more. So, until next time, take care, God bless, and make it a point to spend some time outdoors.